It's One Piece daisuke Motti.
Today's topic is this: Guy Monarch prophesying the story after Wano. Welcome to my new video. This is gonna be one of my most complex theory, and today it's about the Guy Monarch. Talking about Guy Monarch, it was a highly distinctive in one chapter concluding arc. Probably you guys felt something strange about that arc, but at the same time expecting there must be something important in it. What did Oda intend when writing the Guy Monarch? What kind of hints are hidden in this little story? Today I want to thoroughly reveal the truth that is hidden in the Guy Monarch. Before I get onto the main subject, in order to proceed with today's theory about Gaimon, and for you to enjoy the entire East Blue Theory series as much as you can, there's one thing to be mentioned beforehand, that is the 3 rules when making a One Piece conjecture. It's an important approach to understand in order to reveal the truth, so maybe we're gonna have to go a long way round, but don't get confused. As you know, after YouTube having decided to remove the dislike button, I can only see the good vibes from you guys, so hit the like button for me and many exciting videos in future. Okay, then let's get started. The East Blue Theory series part 1, Guy Monarch. Let's go.
It's One Piece daisuke Motti. Next.
As I told, I'm gonna tell you the inevitable 3 rules when making a One Piece conjecture at first. First, the 4 tribute types. One Piece story structured in 4 parts. Third, the true function of East Blue Saga. The 3 rules. So these rules will be a basic premise to understand the mystery about the Guy Monarch. Let's take a closer look one by one. Rule number 1. The 4 types of tribute. As many of you know, in the whole One Piece story there are several kinds of tributes. If you evaluated these in specific patterns, you'll get there are 4 patterns in place. Tribute to celebrities, tribute to real pirates, tribute to other tales, and tribute to other animes. These 4 patterns. The one on the top is quite popular, tribute to celebrities. This is probably one of the most well-known and straightforward tributes. Akainu and Bunta Sugawara, Aokiji and Yusaku Matsuda, Kizaru and Kunie Tanaka, Fujitora and Shintaro Katsu. The appearance of Oda's favorite Japanese actors was applied to the appearance of Marine Admirals just as it is, but that's not all. Lulu and Freddie Mercury, Anna and Eminem, Django and Steven Tyler. And there are even more, both Japanese and international celebrities. Considering how similar they just look like, we don't need to cast doubt on it. And number 2. Tribute to real pirates. This one might be also quite familiar to many of you guys, but let me introduce you the major ones. Edward Teach, Avilda, Anne Bonny, William Kidd, John Hawkins, Francis Drake, Chuyapu, Bartholomew Roberts. This one is obvious as well. You can imagine immediately without explaining who is who. What we can notice here is that only the names are applied, and features like what they did or what kind of pirates they used to be are not part of the tribute. By the way, if we adduced the true story from the past to One Piece one by one, it's Maynard Vice Admiral who's gonna defeat Blackbeard. But I'm sure this is not gonna happen after all. And followed up by pattern number 3, tribute to other tales. This is gonna be something you'll think, well, it makes sense, and as an example, Wano Kuni Arc and Momotaro, Fishman Island Urashima Taro, Whole Cake Island and Aladdin, Dressrosa and Gulliver's Travel. Both international tales and Japanese tales are applied, but just a couple of components are replicated. The tricky part of this pattern is that we don't know how much and in what balance Oda makes use of when he makes the tribute to these tales. Like the Tamatebako on the Fishman Island, Oda sometimes mirrors the entire setting, but like Sentomaru and Kintaro, Oda sometimes takes only a part of a certain setting. And the last pattern, It's more or less the core of today's theory, but at the same time the most crucial clue. The hidden tribute pattern is this: tribute to other animes. This pattern is getting real maniac, and the most of you even don't recognize that it's a matter of tribute we are talking about here, so it's a kind of hidden tribute pattern. But I'm already planning to make another video about Dragon Ball tribute, which is about Son Goku's Power Pole in Klimatak, Flying Nimbus and Zeus, Genkidama and Laigo, Shenlong and Kaido, Majin Buu and Big Mom, and furthermore. As tribute to Rurouni Kenshin, Kuzuryu-sen and Kozuki Crest, Amakakeru Ryu no Hiramiki, and Proof of the Soaring Dragon, and there are more. The theory about Big Mom being a tribute to Majin Buu, I'm gonna make an extra video soon, but I'm quite confident this is gonna knock you out, since my theory about Big Mom is that she's becoming the 11th member of the Straw Hat crew. Anyway, I'll let you sneak a peek right now at this picture comparing Big Mom and Buu. And in this large-scale theory about East Blue Saga starting today, I'm not gonna only introduce many further tributes to other animes beyond Dragon Ball or Rurouni Kenshin, but eventually aiming at unmasking questions like who is Joy Boy or what is One Piece. I actually can't wait to get to that part soon, but let's keep calm and move on step by step. Okay, that was one of the 3 rules when making a One Piece conjecture, the 4 types of tribute.
It's One Piece Daisuke Mochi. Next.
Rule number 2. One Piece is structured in 4 parts. The story of One Piece is basically divided into East Blue Saga, first half of Grand Line and second half of Grand Line. And additional to these, the so-called final chapter will be added. And looking at the whole picture, it's made of 4 major chapters. An essential point here is to define from which part has the final chapter started. A phase where a war against Marine or world government or Black or Shanks will be conducted. Is this the final chapter, or is Wano already a part of that? In any case, the stage of the subsequent fight will remain in the second half of the Grand Line. Now it's getting confusing to make a clear cut. We actually are not in the position to define it, but look at this. Oda's comment on the anniversary of volume 100. The answer is in here. The story is almost at its end. Yes, Oda already has declared as clearly as possible. As he even made this comment of him to get published in the Japanese newspaper, we can suppose that Wano already is a part of the final chapter. Okay, now there was the second one of 3 rules of One Piece conjecture, namely the entire story is divided into 4 parts and Wano belongs to the final chapter. Keeping this in mind, let's get to the last rule. Rule number 3, the true function of East Blue Saga. First of all, Oda basically used a scaling up technique in order to create the link between the first half and second half. It's a hidden rule which is quite familiar among the One Piece fans. The most obvious link as such is the cover of volume 1 and 61. Not only the Straw Hat crew at the time, Luffy, Zoro, Nami are on it at the exact same position and in the exact same posture, also the title Ramen Stone is totally the same. At that point, we are aware that One Piece arrived at its halfway mark at volume 61. There are a lot more links, so I'm not gonna go into details, but Alabasta arc and Dressrosa arc, Thriller Bark and Whole Cake Island. Listing up those links, the picture gets more clear and evident. There are plenty of other scenes that make the link between the first half and second half clear, hence, the final chapter including Wano must be linking with any former story too. That would be nothing but the logical conclusion. Again, the eventual structure of One Piece will be East Blue, Grand Line first half, Grand Line second half and final chapter, divided in these 4 parts. And as I've just explained, There's a link between the first half and second half of the Grand Line Saga. Now thinking logically, if the part that will somehow link to the final chapter would be East Blue Saga, the settlement would be quite satisfying, right? So considering all these rules, what I want to advocate is the storyline of East Blue Saga will be applied to the construction of the final chapter. Exactly this is the true function of East Blue Saga.
It's One Piece dice game object. Next.
I know it was a lot of input so far, but if I sum up, One Piece has 4 patterns of tributes. The story will be divided into 4 parts eventually. Wano belongs to the final chapter, and the storyline of East Blue Saga will be somehow applied to the final chapter. If you've followed me so far, everything's gonna be fine. What I now want to look at closer is the link between Alvida arc and Wano arc. If we assume that Wano belongs to the final chapter, if we assume that the storyline of East Blue will be applied to the final chapter, there must be some happenings in Wano that tributes to East Blue Saga. Let's review all together whether my assumption so far is correct. Things in common 1. The outset of the story. Both in Alvida and Wano arc, Luffy after a shipwreck runs ashore all alone. That's the start of the adventure. First one, check. There are a lot of stories in One Piece, but there are only those 2 where Luffy starts the journey all by his own. Things in common 2, the setting of the boss. This one's gonna be an obvious one. Considering the bosses of Wano are Kaido and Big Mom, the 2 Yonkos whose bounties are also nearly the same, maybe Alvida is a character who's been created to represent the futures of both. Number 3, Luffy's quote. This one is obvious. Every single word is totally the same. There must be some kind of intentional thoughts of Oda playing a role to make Luffy speak out the same phrase. And furthermore, keeping in mind that there are other things in common related to Kobe and the samurais, it's reasonable to say that Alvida arc can be considered a part of Wano arc construction. So if we take this into our conjecture, we can presume a high possibility of the stories to link to each other, like this list, which makes the whole picture quite satisfactory. By the way, the prologue of One Piece. The very first chapter, Volume 1 Chapter 1, might be a tribute to the Reverie arc that came right before Wano. The reason is Shanks and Straw Hat. At the very beginning of the whole story, Shanks and Straw Hat have left an intense impression, and as you know, during the Reverie arc it was neither a flashback nor the 2 mentioned by someone, but both Shanks and Straw Hat themselves happened to appear. That would mean that the Reverie arc would fit in here at the prologue of the final chapter. That will make a nice picture, right? Besides the story right after Alvida arc, the Morgan and Buggy arc, I personally think that those 3 arcs all compiled make the tribute to Wano. Since Wano is a scaled up version, these comparatively short arcs had to be put together. Now having said that, our today's topic, the Gaimon arc conclusively, would be somehow adopted to an essential arc right after Wano. Okay, now some of you guys probably already got my point, but what I think is the hidden structure pattern of One Piece is this. One Piece that Oda has started to write having the finale already in mind. Back then, when he imagined how to build up the first saga, he must have pictured how to illustrate the rough pathway of the final chapter. In that case, in order to make the story complete, he might have thought, I will illustrate the opening of the whole story as reduced size version of the final chapter. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Of course, this is an idea of Oda which nobody ever could come to back at the time. This is why Oda was kind of forced to involve the Gaimon arc as a reduced size version of an essential part. That made us readers to wonder about the necessity of Gaimon arc to be included in the main story. It took us some time so far, but all of this was just the prior knowledge. Now let's get to the true function of Gaimon arc, meaning what's about to come right after Wano, an essential arc. The Gaimon arc that probably no one haven't yet found out what it's all about. The first clue in order to reveal all the hidden truths is a tribute to other animes, which I told you about at the beginning. What I think, what the anime is that Oda has taken as model for Gaimon arc is the castle in the sky.